Private equity is buying your electricity. Your bill jumps 30% while the lights still flicker. And it's not bad luck. It's a business model. In the past 2 years, Blackstone, Brookfield, KKR, and Macquarie have snapped up utility stakes using debt you'll service through riders on your bill. One deal can load billions onto your local utility, and you repay it every month, line by line, without ever being asked. I'll show you the exact playbook, the regions at risk this winter, and 3 moves to protect your money before the next filing locks hikes in place. Rate cases are being approved now. The next 60 days matter. Spot it, act, and avoid the trap. The debt-fueled utility playbook. Here's what actually happens when private equity buys your electricity. Step 1. Acquire with leverage and push the debt onto the utility itself. The holding company borrows aggressively, but the liability lands on the operating utility that serves your home. Because it's a regulated monopoly, the cash flow looks safe, so lenders play along, especially private credit arms hungry for steady distributions. Recent deals from Blackstone, via GIP, Brookfield, KKR, and Macquarie follow this pattern. The moment the deal closes, the company you rely on is carrying a mortgage it didn't choose. Step 2. Declare synergies. Most people think synergies mean efficiency. In practice, it often means cuts. Vegetation management cycles get stretched, inspections go from proactive to reactive, and contractor budgets shrink. Staffing thins out, especially experienced linemen and troubleshooters. Reliability doesn't fail immediately, it erodes. Everything looks fine in fair weather, but storm seasons expose the gaps. That delay is part of the strategy. The owners aim to flip the asset in 5 to 7 years, so long-tail problems become someone else's problem, usually you. Step 3. Revalue assets and pursue cost recovery in rate cases. This is where the incentives get twisted. Regulated utilities earn a return on rate base, basically, the capital they're allowed to collect profit on. Maintenance is treated as an expense and doesn't earn a return. Therefore, there's an embedded push to convert as much as possible into capital projects. Poles replaced, CAPEX. Substation upgrade, CAPEX. Software modernization, often CAPEX. Reliability maintenance that doesn't grow rate base, that's the orphan. Most people think CAPEX equals progress, but when maintenance is starved, the shiny projects don't prevent basic failures. Step 4. Extract fees. Upstream management fees, monitoring fees, advisory fees. These drain cash before it reaches the work that keeps your lights on. Add special dividends, funded by recapitalizations. The utility borrows again, pays a dividend to the parent, and ratepayers inherit the debt service through future filings. If you've ever wondered why your bill has new riders and surcharges, storm cost riders, infrastructure riders, vegetation riders, it's partly because debt and fees need a path back to cash. Step 5. Flip within 5 to 7 years. The exit narrative points to stabilized earnings, de-risked operations, and expanded rate base. Translation. The financial plumbing is set, the filings are in motion, and the next owner gets a machine that reliably converts your payments into predictable returns. Any long-term reliability risk sits with the public and the regulator, while the seller walks away with the promote. Now, the core problem underneath all of this is the rate base incentive. Profits are tied to capital deployed, not necessarily to the uptime you experience on a windy night. Performance metrics exist, but they're often weak teeth. Modest penalties for outages and small bonuses for hitting targets that can be gamed with weather normalization and selective reporting. Everything changes when you realize the easiest way to grow profit is to grow rate base, not to minimize outage minutes. But here's where it gets interesting. The playbook relies on complexity to keep you disengaged. Rate cases run thousands of pages. Expert witnesses say reliability will improve with targeted investments. Meanwhile, O&M gets capitalized, taking tasks that used to be expenses and reclassifying them as CAPEX so they earn a return. It's legal if structured properly, but it shifts cost into a profit-bearing bucket. Your bill reflects it through riders, which hide inside acronyms. You don't argue because it looks like a regulatory alphabet soup. There's also the private credit angle. Non-bank lenders fund aggressive terms that banks won't touch because regulated cash flows look safe. Preferred equity stacks on top, with fixed distributions that act like debt. Who pays those distributions? Ultimately, ratepayers, via filings that claim necessary capital costs. As private credit grew across utility deals in 2024 to 2025, these layers multiplied. The more layers, the more pressure to pull cash out quickly, and the more likely. Maintenance gets trimmed at the edges. You might be thinking, aren't regulators supposed to stop this? They try, but commissions are understaffed and outgunned. Utilities show up with consultants, economic models, and carefully curated reliability charts. Settlements avoid full hearings, which sounds cooperative, but often locks in most of the hike. If a commission pushes back, appeals drag on, and political pressure builds from investment uncertainty. The message: approve the plan or risk the lights. Quick microstory. Last month, a small business owner asked why a new storm hardening rider hit his bill after 3 brief outages spoiled inventory. The utilities filing showed millions for resilience, but vegetation cycles had been stretched the year before. When I walked him through the docket, he saw the reclassification of work as CAPEX and a special dividend upstream. His reaction? I'm paying for the ladder they kicked out from under me. That emotional gut punch is the point. Hikes land now, while the basics slip. Once you understand the sequence, leverage, cuts, revaluation, fees flip, the pattern on your bill makes sense. Riders are the breadcrumbs. The names vary by state, but the function is the same. Move cash from your account to the capital stack. And because the flip window is short, there's urgency to lock in returns now, before winter storms reveal what maintenance neglect really costs. Now meet the firms that run this at scale, and how their fingerprints show up in your region. Name the villains, who's buying your grid. Let me show you the logos behind the riders on your bill. These aren't cartoon villains. They're sophisticated asset managers with patient capital and a clear mandate: turn regulated cash flows into fee streams. Recent headlines confirm the push: Blackstone, through GIP, pursuing multi-billion utility stakes, Brookfield recycling capital into regulated wires, KKR taking platform positions, and Macquarie/IFM running long-dated infrastructure funds. Start with Brookfield Infrastructure. They love wires, pipes, and long concessions. You'll see their footprint in transmission, gas networks, and increasingly, stakes in U.S. utilities and pipelines. Their pattern is consistent. Recycle capital, lean on non-recourse debt at the asset level, and grow the rate base through modernization. The filings read well: resilience, reliability, digital upgrades, but the financing stack often includes preferreds and project debt that demand steady distributions. Where this shows up for you: new infrastructure or storm hardening riders justified by multi-year capital plans, while everyday O&M quietly flattens. Their investor updates tout billions in refinancings and backlog additions. Translation: your bills service a pipeline of projects and the cost of capital layered above them. KKR next. They prefer consortium deals and platform plays. In transmission and distribution, they'll buy minority stakes, bring in pension partners, and push a standard operating model: cost discipline, programmatic capex, and tight budgeting. Most people think discipline means savings passed to customers. But in practice, it's headcount controls and contractor squeezes, coupled with rate cases, that frame capex as essential modernization. You'll notice mandatory productivity improvements in testimony, then a proposal to reclassify recurring work as capital to expand rate base. KKR also shows up around merchant generation and midstream tie-ins, which creates incentives to steer capacity and interconnection strategy toward assets they influence. It's subtle, but it can shape which projects get prioritized. Blackstone plays grid-adjacent and increasingly grid-direct through its infrastructure platforms, including GIP. They're deep in pipelines, storage, and utility stakes, with private credit arms underwriting aggressive terms. When they move into utility stakes or take privates, they pair the ownership thesis with fee engineering, management agreements, advisory fees, and occasional dividend recaps that upstream cash early. On the ground, you'll see extra riders to recover extraordinary costs and regulatory compliance investments. They'll emphasize transition credibility, green bonds, ESG frameworks, while financing mixed portfolios. The optics are clean. The cash flows are what matter. Macquarie and IFM bring foreign pension money with private equity oversight. They've been in U.S. utilities and transmission for years. Their hallmark is infrastructure fund governance, long-dated benchmark hunting returns, combined with hands-on cost control. They're excellent at winning rate cases with polished benchmarking studies that prove their O&M is efficient. Everything changes when those studies become the baseline for future cuts. Vegetation cycles lengthen, spare parts inventory gets optimized to the bone, and outage minutes creep up, slowly, until the next storm exposes the margin. Now the accelerator. Pedal, private credit. Non-bank lenders have flooded into utility deals because regulated revenue looks safe. That's why you're seeing more preferred equity, holdco notes, and amortizing term loans stacked on operating companies in 2024 to 2025. These instruments aren't evil, they're just hungry. They don't care whether a substation needed preventive work. They care that quarterly distributions clear. When a winter or summer crunch hits, the tension shows up as emergency riders and fuel adjustments that mask financial plumbing. You might ask, aren't stakes minority? Doesn't that limit control? In theory, yes. In practice, governance rights, budget approvals, and shared services agreements give outsized influence. A 20% holder with board seats and vetoes can steer CAPEX timing, procurement, and filings. They don't need 51% to shape priorities. One more player class, mega asset managers repackaging transition portfolios. They blend renewables, storage, and legacy assets, then sell the narrative of net zero pathways. The catch is incentive alignment. Transition CAPEX earns a return, pruning trees doesn't. So transition headlines get funded first, and mundane reliability gets deferred at the edges. So how do you spot their fingerprints? Look for filings that feature capital plans growing faster than O&M with efficiency benchmarks, new riders for storm hardening, vegetation, and technology enablement, reclassification of routine work into capital projects, dividend or cash distribution, references tied to new debt, expert testimony from recurring consulting shops across multiple states. Microstory, a Midwestern docket featured a 5-year grid modernization plan with AMI upgrades, substation automation, and a vegetation pilot. The utilities owner group included 2 infrastructure funds and a private credit lender at Holdco. The commission approved most CAPEX, trimmed O&M a bit based on benchmarks, and allowed a resilience rider. 6 months later, an ice storm toppled lines on a corridor flagged for trimming in an internal audit. Customers saw outages, then a storm cost recovery filing. The fund saw exactly what they planned for: capital deployed, distributions paid, and a path to exit. Numbers are abstract until they hit your kitchen. These firms are disciplined and skilled. That's the point. Once you recognize the names and the patterns, you'll read your next rate notice differently, and you'll know where to push back. Human cost, bills up, reliability down. Let's make this real. The pattern isn't a spreadsheet. It's what happens in a neighborhood when maintenance gets stretched and the weather turns. Vegetation management slips from 3-year trimming to 5. Crews flag a corridor as monitor instead of clear. Then a wind event blows through. Branches slap lines, 2 spans snap, and your block goes dark for 8 hours. Most people think that's just a storm. It's engineered fragility, predictable when cyclical work gets delayed to make room for CAPEX headlines and fee extraction. Average outage time is already creeping toward 8+ hours per household per year in the US. You feel that as spoiled food, missed shifts, and medical stress. Here's where it hits hardest: medical dependence. If you use a CPAP, you can limp through one night. On night 2, sleep deprivation adds cardiovascular risk. Insulin needs refrigeration. An outage pushes you into ice runs and temperature anxiety. Home dialysis requires stable power or a backup plan with fuel and maintenance you weren't budgeting for. When reliability decays, these households turn into emergency logistics centers, burning time and money just to maintain baseline health. Energy poverty turns weather into a hazard multiplier. During heat waves, people throttle AC to avoid bill shock and cross the line from discomfort to danger. In cold snaps, space heaters and ovens become risky substitutes. Mortality doesn't spike because one grid failed spectacularly. It rises because millions make desperate choices when outages and high bills collide. That's the silent toll, not headlines, just incremental harm that never shows up in an investor letter. After Texas's 2021 freeze, we saw how thin margins become deadly. 200+ deaths linked, yet the financial model didn't change. Small businesses feel it as compounded costs. Take a corner market. A 2-hour outage spoils dairy and prepared foods. Freezer defrost cycles restart, compressors stress, and the month's repair budget evaporates. Then the bill lands with a storm hardening rider and a fuel cost adjustment. You're paying more while absorbing surprise downtime your insurer may fight as utility-related, not covered. Margins thin, hours get cut, prices tick up. Customers blame the owner. The owner is actually subsidizing a capital stack they can't see. Let's talk renters, because this model punishes them in quiet ways. In master meter buildings, management pays the bill and recoups through rent or pass-through. Fees. If the utility adds riders, they're padded into next year's lease. You can't shop rates. You can't install smart thermostats or submeter. And when outages hit, you're dealing with elevator shutdowns, stairwell darkness, and food loss without the option to add backup gear. In some cities, landlords tack on utility admin fees that climb while service degrades. You're captive to two monopolies, the building and the utility. Now, connect reliability to work. Remote employees lose pay when connectivity dies. Gig workers can't charge devices or travel safely. Care workers miss shifts. The economic ripple isn't theoretical. It's hours, tips, and contract milestones slipping because trees weren't cut and spares weren't stocked. Most people think resilience is a big battery and a press release. Resilience is actually boring. Trimmed corridors, lubed switches, tested relays, staffed crews. That's the stuff that got optimized. A quick example, a suburban feeder with known weak spans and a flagged transformer from thermal imaging. The fix was budgeted as a multi-year automation and replacement project, great slides, solid capex. But the stopgap, replace the transformer and add guying before storm season, was pushed a quarter. First icing event, the transformer fails under load transfer. Customers out for 12 hours. The utility files to recover storm costs later. The automation project proceeds. The outage was avoidable with routine work. It didn't happen because the return sits on capex, not on prevention. Here's another lived cost, time. You reshuffle your day to wait out an outage window with no accurate restoration estimate. Food spoils, kids miss online classes, your phone dies while you chase updates. Then the bill arrives with a technology enablement rider for advanced metering the utility still doesn't use to give you precise restoration info. You're funding tools that aren't deployed to reduce your pain. Most people think the grid is old, so outages are normal. Age matters, but age with care works. There are 40-year-old substations that hum through storms because they're maintained. The failures cluster where preventive work got thin and vegetation management became a spreadsheet line item to hit a benchmark. When owners plan to flip in 5 to 7 years, maintenance with a 10-year payoff is easy to starve. Viral truth, boring work prevents viral disasters. Let's put numbers into household behavior. If your bill jumped 18% in the last year and you earn median income, you might cut thermostat set points, delay car maintenance, cancel a streaming service, skip one grocery upgrade. Add a 2-day outage and you're rebuying groceries, maybe replacing a surge-fried appliance and missing shifts. That's a rent payment's worth over a winter. The cash didn't vanish. It moved upstream to debt service and fees labeled as resilience. So no, this isn't random weather. It's a system tuned to favor capital growth over uptime. And when the storm track shifts or a heat dome sits longer than modeled, that tuning breaks in predictable ways. The bill goes up, the reliability goes down, and households carry the gap with stress, health risk, and lost income. This is the human ledger of a financial playbook. Why now? The winter crunch and 2026 rate wave. Everything we've covered becomes urgent when you look at the calendar. Winter is when weak maintenance shows, and the next 12 to 18 months are packed with pre-approved rate increases that bake today's financing into tomorrow's bills. That's the collision. Physical stress at the same time as financial pressure. Data centers and electrification are raising the floor on demand, so winter mornings have less headroom than they used to. Start with winter peak vulnerability. After years of trimmed vegetation cycles and deferred replacements, lines and transformers enter cold season with less margin. Cold snaps spike demand as heat pumps, resistive heaters, and backup systems all kick on at once. If gas supply tightens, pipelines constrained, freeze-offs at wellheads, dual-fuel plants lean on pricier oil or derate. The grid can meet average days. It struggles on peak mornings at 7 a.m. when everyone starts heating, cooking, and launching the workday. That's exactly when brittle equipment fails. Now layer in the 2026 rate wave. Utilities have queued multi-year capital plans tied to resilience, modernization, and transition enablement. Many rate cases were filed in 2024 to 2025 and are scheduled to step up through late 2025 into 2026. Settlements often stage increases, a base rate bump, plus riders that escalate as milestones are achieved. You feel it as a staircase, not a cliff, but the top step is meaningfully higher. In some states, bills already spiked double digits. New Jersey's 2024 jump is one example. And because these hikes anchor off the cost of capital and asset valuations set today, the bill impact persists even if conditions ease later. Extreme weather. Volatility multiplies the risk under lean operations. Fewer spare parts, tighter crews, and optimized inventories mean restoration lags when storms cluster. A wind event followed by freeze rain can consume the same scarce crossarms, transformers, and reclusers you're waiting on to harden feeders. Most people think storms drive all the pain. The truth is lean supply chains turn routine damage into prolonged outages. And if you're seeing deferred vegetation zones on internal maps, a single ice load can escalate a limb contact into multi-span failures. Insurance and reinsurance pressures are the stealth driver behind the next filings. As catastrophe models reprice weather risk, utilities face higher premiums and bigger deductibles for transmission and distribution. Self-insured retentions step up. That cost boomerangs into storm cost deferral accounts and then back into your bill through recovery riders. At the same time, insurers scrutinize maintenance. If your operator can't document trimming cycles or substation flood mitigation, coverage narrows, and the premium hike is even steeper, again, recoverable from customers. There's also the demand surge from data centers and electrification. Winter used to be quieter in many regions. Now, 24/7 compute loads flatten the diurnal curve and raise the floor. Since 2022, private capital poured nearly $200 billion into data centers, and utilities are racing to serve them. When a polar blast hits, there's less headroom to reallocate. Grid operators call for conservation, interruptible tariffs kick in, and non-firm industrial customers get curtailed. Residential customers don't see the dispatch calls, they just experience voltage dips, flickers, and the occasional rolling outage that prevents system collapse. Everything changes when financing meets weather. Preferred equity distributions and term loan amortization don't pause for storms. If the utility is carrying acquisition debt or has promised cash up to a parent fund, it must maintain filings that keep revenue predictable. That's why you'll see midwinter true-ups or expedited petitions to extend storm riders, framed as temporary but tuned to bridge liquidity. The more complex the capital stack, the stronger the incentive to codify recovery mechanisms before the next storm season. So why the 60-day urgency? Because commissions finalize winter contingency filings and line up spring rate steps now. Once approved, those riders lock for a year or more, with automatic escalators. If interveners don't contest O&M cuts or challenge capitalization shifts today, you inherit a 2026 bill shaped by this winter's paperwork. And if a severe event hits, the playbook is well practiced. Book costs to a regulatory asset, seek deferral, then recover with carrying charges. The time to question vegetation baselines, spare inventories, and workforce readiness is before the ice forms, not after. Viral takeaway: the paperwork window closes before the weather opens. Here's the bottom line: winter exposes the physical cracks, and 2026 cements the financial ones. If you're going to act, on programs that lower your peak load, on billing choices that blunt riders, on public comments that force better maintenance floors, this window matters. The filings are live. The weather is coming, and the math is about to show up on your statement. Follow the money, from bill to bonus. Let's trace a single dollar from your bill. It doesn't all go to keeping the lights on. It first hits a maze of riders and adjustments that decide who gets paid before a crew ever steps on a truck. Start with the line items most people skip: fuel adjustment, system benefits charge, transmission rider, storm cost recovery, infrastructure surcharge, and sometimes a vegetation or resilience rider. Each one earmarks cash for a distinct bucket, and many allow semi-automatic true-pass outside of full rate cases. Translation: money flows upstream reliably, even when reliability doesn't. That's why PE sees safe cash flows. They're engineered in your bill design. Fuel adjustments are the perfect cloak. They pass through fuel costs with minimal debate, but they also carry hedge settlements, capacity charges, and imbalance penalties from poor planning. When procurement is optimized for financial targets, Not resilience, the pass-through grows, and you fund the difference. Storm riders book yesterday's disaster as a regulatory asset with carrying costs, then recover it over years. Infrastructure riders pre-approve capital with tracker mechanisms. If milestones are met, the charge ratchets up. You think you're paying for service, you're paying for an amortization schedule. Now debt service. Remember that acquisition leverage and those dividend recaps? Interest at the operating utility becomes a cost of service. Preferred equity issued at the utility or holdco level pays a fixed distribution that behaves like debt. Both create a monthly nut that must be covered, and filings are crafted to ensure recovery. Your riders stabilize that recovery so lenders and preferred holders get paid on time. If treasury yields jump or credit spreads widen, the next case leans on higher cost of capital to keep distributions intact. Your bill becomes a hedge against financial markets for them. Then there are management and advisory fees. Shared services arrangements let the parent bill the utility for strategic support, operational optimization, and transition management. These invoices sit in corporate overhead, then flow into the revenue requirement. Monitoring fees tied to fund governance appear as intangible service value. None of that strings more conductor or trims more trees, but it shows up in your rates because the utility is allowed to recover prudently incurred expenses, and the parent writes the narrative that makes them look prudent. Special dividends and recapitalizations are where the extraction gets blunt. The utility borrows, sometimes at the opco, sometimes pushed down from holdco, and pays a dividend to its parent. Cash leaves the operating business. Later, the utility files to recover higher interest expense and maintain planned capex. You see it as a modest base rate bump plus a rider tweak. The parent books a win. Your monthly payment grows to service yesterday's distribution. Regulatory capture doesn't show up as a fee line, but it's embedded in the process. External legal counsel, expert witnesses, and consultant studies are charged to the case and recoverable. The utility pays specialists to win the hike, and those costs are then recouped from you. If interveners lack funding, the imbalance gets worse. One side bills the process to the ratepayers, the other side passes the hat. The outcome is predictable. MicroStory, a coastal utility, added a resilience tracker at $4.18 per month per household. The docket bundled substation elevating, breaker replacements, and data platform upgrades. Halfway through year 2, invoices revealed a surge in program management and change integration fees to an affiliate. Field spend lagged due to contractor shortages and transformer lead times, but the tracker stayed live. Customers paid full freight. The affiliate got paid on time. The hardening slipped another season. Another place to look, affiliate transactions. When the parent also owns a pipeline, a construction firm, or a software vendor, the utility competitively selects that affiliate. Rates reflect market-based pricing, but the margin stays inside the family. Your bill buys gas from a sister company, hires a sister engineering firm, and licenses a sister analytics platform. The regulator can challenge this, but with benchmarking and a clean paper trail, it often slides through. What about taxes? Utilities collect deferred taxes that become a zero-interest loan from you to them. When tax rules change, excess deferred taxes should flow back to ratepayers. In practice, timing and allocation get fuzzy. Credits dribble out over years while capital plans surge now. Your dollar waits in accounting limbo while dividends and fees clear immediately. Here's the part most people miss: cash timing. Working capital riders and decoupling mechanisms smooth revenue, so the utility gets paid even when usage dips. You don't notice because the change per month is small. But for the capital stack, reliability of cash beats size of cash. Debt covenants key off predictable coverage ratios. Preferred distributions require punctuality. The bill design ensures punctuality. Follow it upstream. Bill paid, riders allocated, OpCo interest covered, preferred distributions met, management fees withdrawn, affiliate invoices cleared, then whatever remains funds crews, spares, and real maintenance. After that, the parent tallies EBITDA, pays fund level carry, and reports to LPs that regulated cash flows performed as expected. Bonuses are tied to that language. Your flicker isn't in the KPI. So how do you spot it on your own bill? Circle anything labeled adjustment, tracker, rider, credit, or true-up. Those are cash highways. Then skim the latest rate order for capitalization of O&M, affiliate service agreements, storm cost deferrals, and performance metrics. If you see rising riders with flat O&M and growing capital, you're financing distributions and debt first, resilience second. This isn't theory. It's the plumbing that moves your dollar from the kitchen counter to a bonus pool you'll never see. Paper trail, how rate cases get won. Let me show you how the sausage gets made. A rate case isn't a debate about your outage last month. It's a staged production built to justify a revenue target. The script starts months earlier with a needs assessment that frames urgency. Aging assets, regulatory mandates, resilience gaps, and transition obligations. From there, the utility backsolves to a revenue requirement, then builds testimony to walk regulators to the number without triggering alarms. The opening move is the reliability spin. You'll see charts showing SAIDI and sci-fi trending within peer ranges despite increasing climate severity. The message is subtle. Reliability is fine, but at risk without targeted investment. That sets up a mandated investment narrative. Cybersecurity requirements, wildfire mitigation rules, storm hardening standards, interconnection obligations. Each mandate becomes a capital program with a tracker request so cash flows outside base rates. Most people think mandates are non-negotiable. The scope and pace are negotiable, and that's where the dollars move. Expert witnesses carry the weight. The company hires credentialed engineers, economists, and former regulators to testify that the plan is prudent and least cost. Engineering experts validate asset condition indices and failure probabilities. Economists run cost of capital models to argue for a higher allowed return given macro uncertainty. A reliability expert will say performance targets are stretched but achievable to warrant incentive adders. These witnesses file hundreds of pages that look objective, but follow the company's data framing. Adjust an assumption, asset health, whether normalization, inflation curves, and the math shifts. Settlements are the pressure valve. Full hearings are risky. Settlements feel cooperative and save time. But black box settlements hide the line-by-line give and take. The top-line increase drops a little, some riders get tweaks, and both sides declare victory. Customers still pay more, and the critical accounting choices, what's capitalized, what's expensed, often survive intact. Why settle? Interveners are outgunned on discovery, and commissions want predictability heading into winter. Everything changes when predictability beats scrutiny. Here's the quiet engine, capitalization of O&M. Take recurring work, pole inspections, relay testing, vegetation spot trims, and reclassify portions as capital because they're part of programmatic upgrades. Once capitalized, they earn a return and expand rate base. The utility touts efficiency because reported O&M falls, even though total spend rises. This shift is technical, footnoted, and easy to miss. It's also permanent. Future customers pay a return on yesterday's reclassified tasks. Affiliates and shared services slide in through prudence. The parent hires itself, program management, procurement optimization, analytics, then documents market testing that shows competitive rates. The invoices roll into the revenue requirement as prudently incurred. Unless a commission imposes an affiliate transaction penalty or discount, you're paying margin to the holding company baked into overhead. Commissions aren't villains, they're handicapped. They manage dozens of dockets with thin staff. Data asymmetry is real. The utility controls the asset models and raw incident logs. Discovery fights delay. Protective orders hide confidential vendor and performance data. Political pressure seeps in. Mayors want shovel-ready projects. Governors want transition headlines. Legislators want no blackouts. Pushing back risks claims of investment uncertainty and credit rating impacts. The safe path is incremental approval with monitoring conditions. So how do utilities win the optics battle? Benchmarks. They stack O&M. Per customer, reliability indices, and headcount against hand-picked peers, then argue they're already efficient or lagging but improving. Either way, the conclusion justifies the plan. They propose performance metrics, outage minutes, customer communication, interconnection timelines, with small at-risk revenue tied to them. Misses cost peanuts compared to the return on new capital. Hit them, and they earn a bonus. Microstory. One docket included a storm resilience index, with a bonus for reducing outage minutes during major events. Sounds good, but the utility's own modeling showed most improvements came from reclassifying events above a threshold as beyond control, excluding them from the metric. The index improved on paper. Field conditions didn't. Another lever, timing. Companies file ahead of storm season, citing urgency. Interveners scramble, discovery windows shrink, holidays chew up days. By the time public hearings occur, narratives are set. Then comes the temporary rate, request to avoid cash shortfalls during review. If granted, customers pay higher rates immediately, with true-up later. Few people file for refunds when the final number lands lower. What should you watch for in a case file? 4 flags. 1. Capitalization policy changes tucked in accounting appendices. 2. Affiliate service agreements with vague scopes. 3. Trackers with auto-escalators tied to achieved milestones. And 4. Performance metrics with exclusions that swallow the rule. If those appear alongside flat or shrinking O&M, you're looking at a rate-based growth machine. The punchline: rate cases are won on structure, not speeches. Whoever defines what counts as investment, how it's measured, and when it's recovered decides where your money goes. Unless someone forces daylight on those definitions, the default path sends your dollars to capital first, maintenance second, and reliability somewhere after that. Now that you see the paper trail, let's map where the physical cracks will show up first. Fragility map, where the grid breaks first. Now that you see how the money moves, let's talk about where the hardware breaks first. There are patterns, and they're not subtle once you know what to look for. Vegetation is the #1 outage driver during storms. When cycles slip, failures cluster fast. Start with vegetation corridors that intersect storm belts. The highest risk zones combine fast tree growth with wind or ice. The Mid-Atlantic through New England's coastal arc, the Ohio Valley into the lower Great Lakes, and the Gulf States' pine corridors. Where trim cycles slipped from 3 years to 5, limbs mature into conductor height. Add a nor'easter or glaze ice, and you get multi-span contacts rather than isolated falls. That's why the same feeders trip every winter front. You're watching a vegetation backlog express itself. Single points of failure hide in plain sight at substations. Many urban and suburban areas rely on single transformer substations with limited bypass capacity. When utilities push automation capex but delay transformer procurement, you get shiny control upgrades feeding old iron with no spare on site. A failed bushing or a stuck LTC in January cascades into feeder outages that can't be backfed. Rural hubs with long tails are worse. One 1960s transformer, a handful of long taps, and an access road that floods. If your town has a north sub everyone mentions during storms, that's your choke point. Aged transformers and breakers are a national weak link. Lead times stretched, budgets shifted to higher visibility projects. Many utilities run 30, 40-year units well beyond intended service life with condition-based maintenance that's really deferral by another name. Cold snaps stress oil paper insulation. Load transfers during restoration hammer contacts. Failures don't look dramatic, just a protracted outage while a crane and crew hunt a spare 2 counties away. In some regions, standard distribution transformers now take months to procure when storms stack. Gas grid interdependence raises winter risk. Most people think electricity failures are about wires. In cold spells, the gas system's constraints show up on the electric side. Freeze-offs at wellheads, pipeline pressure drops, compressor station outages, suddenly dual-fuel plants derate, and grid operators are juggling shortfalls. In the Northeast, pipeline constraints drive capacity prices and emergency imports. In parts of the Midwest and Texas, a gas hiccup during a polar front can turn a manageable electric event into rolling outages. If your region depends on gas-fired peakers without firm supply, expect tight mornings and voltage dips. Rural co-ops aren't immune. Even when they're member-owned, many rely on investor-owned transmission and shared procurement. When spare inventories get optimized upstream, co-ops wait in the same queue for crossarms, reclusers, and distribution transformers. Long radial lines across timber or prairie. Make patrol times long and restoration slow. Vegetation responsibilities can be split across easements and property owners, further complicating clearance. The result: extended outages after icing events and windstorms that bigger urban systems clear faster. Urban heat islands create a different fragility. Summer peaks load old secondary networks hard. Add winter electrification, heat pumps, EV charging, and feeders that were fine at historical peaks suddenly run hot. Aging paper-insulated lead cable and brittle joints fail under thermal cycling. Vault equipment that never floods starts taking water during extreme rain, then pops on the next load surge. In cities with high-rise clusters, Elevator and fire systems depend on clean voltage. Flickers turn into safety issues. If your city publishes feeder load maps, look for red zones that never cool off. That's where failures will cluster. Look for geography meets asset mismatches. Coastal substations still at grade in surge zones. Mountain valleys with single 115 kV feeds and no loop. Desert regions with long 69 kV lines baking under thermal expansion and wind gallop. Wherever the terrain constrains redundancy, one device defines uptime. If the N1 contingency requires heroics, outages won't be short. Interconnection backlogs add a twist. New solar and storage projects often tie into aging substations. When interconnection upgrades slip, utilities rely on temporary operating limits and curtailments. On tight winter mornings, that storage you read about may be offline or limited by a transformer that should have been swapped last year. The press release says capacity exists. The bottleneck says otherwise. Inventory and workforce are part of the map. Regions that cut storerooms to just-in-time levels see restoration time spike when storms cluster. If your utility's last case touted inventory efficiency, ask how many 25 to 50 kVA cans, 15 kV breakers, and primary cable reels are actually in region. Likewise, contractor availability matters. Areas that shed veteran line workers or lean too hard on traveling crews can't surge when highways ice over. What can you watch locally? 3 signals. 1. Repeated outages on the same feeders after moderate weather. Indicates untrimmed corridors and weak spans. 2. Prolonged restoration after a single equipment failure. Points to substation bottlenecks or inventory gaps. 3. A sudden rise in voltage complaint tickets. Suggests overloaded feeders and failing secondary infrastructure. Microstory. A coastal county had 3 substations inside a 100-year floodplain. A storm pushed seawater into 1 yard, tripping breakers and salting buswork. The resilience plan funded automation first, elevation second. 2 tides later, corrosion caused flashovers on a fair weather day. Customers were stunned, the map predicted it. So fragility isn't fate. It's the intersection of maintenance choices, asset age, terrain, and weather. If you know your corridor, your substation, and your interdependence with gas, you can predict where the next avoidable outage lands. Next, we'll ask the hard question. Can the energy transition fix this? Or does private equity just weaponize it? The energy transition, hijacked. Can renewables fix this? Or does the same playbook just change colors? Here's the uncomfortable answer. The transition can improve reliability, but under today's incentives, it's getting weaponized to grow rate base while starving the boring work that prevents outages. Investors poured record capital into renewables, storage, and data center-driven grid upgrades in 2024 to 2025. Without guardrails, that becomes capex theater. Start with the incentive mismatch. Utilities earn on capital, not on prevention. That means transition projects that look like big capital, new transmission, substations for interconnections, advanced metering, distribution automation, get first dibs. Routine reliability work that doesn't inflate asset value, vegetation cycles, switch maintenance, spare transformer inventory, slides. The result is a grid with more technology and the same brittle spans that fail when branches touch. Interconnection delays become bargaining chips. Most people think delays are just bureaucracy. In practice, they're leverage. A utility says the queue is full and upgrades are required, then proposes a Pathfinder capital program. Approve this tracker, let us rate base these upgrades, and we'll clear capacity. Developers accept curtailment risk, while financing sits idle. Customers fund the enabling infrastructure, but the promised capacity arrives late or capped by the same substation bottlenecks flagged years earlier. You'll see this framed as transition enablement, with milestones that unlock automatic rider increases. Curtailment risk is quietly monetized. When variable renewables overgenerate or hit local limits, some projects are curtailed. That lost output isn't your problem, until it becomes an argument for more capital spend at the highest visibility nodes, while dispersed maintenance waits. The company points to renewable variability and asks for storage, recluser upgrades, and reconductoring. Fine in principle, but defers the cheap reliability fix of pruning the corridor that knocks feeders out every wind event. Again, capex first, pruning last. Storage hype complicates reality. Grid batteries are useful, but their life cycle is not magic. They need thermal management, fire safety, inverter upkeep, and replacement reserves. When the playbook focuses on ribbon cuttings and capacity headlines, maintenance budgets for battery sites and legacy assets both get squeezed. The microstory you won't hear. A battery commissioned to shave peak sits at partial availability because the HVAC unit failed and a spare wasn't in region. Meanwhile, the feeder that battery would support still loses customers to tree contacts. Reliable storage requires a maintenance culture. A fee-driven capital stack gives you dependable financing, not dependable uptime. Green bonds can fund brown behavior with clean labels. Sustainability-linked notes frame KPIs around emissions intensity or megawatts of enabled renewables. Hitting those targets can still leave vegetation cycles stretched and substations unelevated. The accounting works. Proceeds go to eligible categories, reports show impact, and investors get ESG boxes checked. But if the program capitalizes O&M as digital vegetation management, while field crews shrink, you funded a label, not resilience. Look for filings that trumpet analytics platforms and LiDAR before they commit to boots and bucket trucks, and require public maintenance floors alongside any green financing. Distributed energy gets throttled with fixed charges and fees. Rooftop solar and community batteries reduce peak stress and enhance resilience if rate design aligns. The private equity playbook often pushes higher fixed charges, minimum bills, or grid access fees that blunt customer economics. Interconnection queues for small projects slow, upgrade fees balloon. A utility will argue cost shifting, sometimes fair. But blanket fixed charges preserve volumetric revenue and rider collections, keeping cash stable for debt service while customers lose tools that would cut their bills and ease peak load. If you see new minimums that dwarf actual usage, you're watching a hedge against your independence. Everything changes when transition CAPEX substitutes for maintenance. An advanced distribution management system gets installed while tie switches stick from lack of lubrication. Automated reclusers get funded while spare 25 to 50 kVA cans are backordered with no local inventory. AMI meters roll out, but outage maps still can't localize faults because secondary records are outdated and GIS updates lag. Technology doesn't fix lean crews, empty storerooms, and untrimmed rights-of-way. It amplifies the gap between what looks modern and what fails in weather. Interdependence with gas can also be hijacked. Some owners with pipeline stakes benefit when electric reliability depends on gas peakers. Winter firm contracts are expensive. Interruptible gas is cheap until it's not. A procurement strategy that optimizes fuel costs in average conditions leaves peakers short in freezes, then blames renewables for variability. The filing that follows asks for more capital to firm the system, storage, transmission, peaker upgrades, while the maintenance baseline that would have cut outage minutes stays flat. So what does a healthy transition look like? Tie profit to reliability metrics that can't be gamed, not just to capital deployed. Require ring-fenced financing so acquisition debt and dividend recaps can't sit at the operating utility. Mandate maintenance floors, vegetation cycles, inspections, spare ratios, with automatic penalties that hurt more than they cost to avoid. Publish asset condition scorecards so the public can see which substations, feeders, and corridors are under risk. Then fund distributed energy fairly. Time of use rates with real price signals, demand response payments that actually clear, and interconnection timelines that are met or compensated when they're missed. Microstory. A utility filed a grid modernization plan with AMI, Flisser automation, and hosting capacity tools. Interveners demanded a vegetation floor and spare transformer targets as conditions. The company balked, then settled. Automation approved, maintenance floors codified, quarterly reporting public. A winter storm hit. Outage minutes still spiked, but restoration time fell because crews and spares were budgeted and ready. The next year's filing leaned less on riders and more on demonstrated reliability gains. That's a transition that actually serves customers. Bottom line, renewables, storage, and digital tools aren't the problem. The problem is an incentive stack that treats them as fee-friendly CAPEX while the basics get optimized away. If we don't fix that, the transition just becomes a new wrapper around the same extraction, green on the outside, fragile underneath. Your defensive playbook, 3 moves. Okay, so here's the part you can control. 3 moves. Do these in order, and you'll cut what you pay, trim peak risk, and build options that don't depend on a clean rate case. Share this section. These are the levers that pay you back this month. Move 1. Provider literacy. Grab your latest bill and a highlighter. Circle every line labeled rider, tracker, adjustment, fuel, and true-up. That's your extraction map. Now call customer service and ask 3 questions. 1. What alternative rate plans are available for my address? 2. Am I eligible for time of use, demand response, or bill credit programs? 3. Which riders are opt-out or elective? Most people think rates are one-size-fits-all. They're not. If you're home nights, time of use can save you 8 to 20%. If you have flexible appliances, a demand response enrollment can turn your flexibility into credits that offset riders. Ask for the tariff sheet and the rider summary, then confirm enrollment windows and any device requirements. Pro tip: if your area has data center growth, TOU spreads are widening. Leverage that. Next, find your utilities docket portal. Search your company name plus rate case and rider with your state. Save links to the active docket and set email alerts. Why? Because there's often a 20 to 30-day window to comment or join a program that launches with a rider. If your region offers opt-out on certain pilots, prepay, budget billing with fees, resilience trackers, say no unless you've priced the benefit. For renters, ask building management for the master meter tariff and any add-on utility admin fees. You can negotiate caps or pass-through rules when leases renew. We'll hit tactics in the next section. Move 2. Load management. You don't need a full home retrofit to dull peak charges. You need sequencing and simple automation. Start with thermostats. Set a schedule that pre-cools or preheats outside the peak window, then rides through with a 2 to 3 degree setback. Most utilities publish peak hours. Bake those into your thermostat app. Add smart plugs or timers on water heaters, dehumidifiers, and EV chargers. Shift dishwashers and laundry to off-peak. If you have electric resistance heat or baseboards, even a small behavioral shift during the 6 to 9 a.m. winter peak moves your load enough to matter. Enroll in demand response if it pays cash or bill credits, not raffle entries. Verify the event cap per month and the maximum duration. Clarify override options so you're not trapped during a heat wave. If your utility has a bring your own thermostat program, link devices you already own and collect the enrollment bonus. Businesses, program walk-in cooler defrost cycles away from peak, add door strip curtains, and set equipment startup in stages so your demand spike isn't all at 7 a.m. Ask for a demand charge rate analysis if you pay demand fees. Many small shops do and don't know it. Microstory, a family in a cold region shifted EV charging to midnight, added a $25 smart plug to their water heater, and set a morning thermostat delay to 9:30. Their winter bill dropped 14% without feeling colder. That's load shaping, not sacrifice. Move 3. Local resilience. This is where batteries, solar, and community options enter. But do the math, not the dream. Price a community solar subscription first if rooftop isn't possible. Many programs offer 5 to 10% bill credits relative to standard rates with no hardware, just a subscription queue. Set a waitlist alert. These fill fast. If you can install gear, start with a modest battery sized for essentials: fridge, lights, internet, medical devices, and a transfer switch. You're not islanding the whole house. You're buying 8 to 12 hours of calm during an outage. Batteries shine if your area has frequent short outages, or if your time of use spread is large enough to arbitrage nightly. In high-growth markets serving data centers, spreads can be especially favorable. Solar plus battery pencils when 3 boxes check. 1. Decent sun hours. 2. Stable interconnection rules. And 3. Time of use spreads or export credits that aren't punitive. Use conservative assumptions. -2% annual utility inflation, 0.5 to 1% panel degradation, replacement reserve for inverters and battery after 10 to 12 years. If the payback is 9 to 12 years with resilience value included, it's competitive. If not, a smaller battery plus community solar often wins. Renters, portable power stations can bridge medical needs and internet for a day. Pair with a small foldable panel if your building allows balcony charging. Don't buy a generator unless you've priced fuel, storage, noise rules, and maintenance. Many sit idle, untested, and fail when needed. Now layer in landlord and HOA negotiations. Ask to install a submeter or smart thermostat at your cost with a simple addendum. Offer to share data on savings. Propose a clause that caps utility admin pass-throughs to actual bill increases, not a flat hike. For EV drivers, propose a Shared 120V/240V outlet with a lockable EVSE and a monthly fee aligned to your usage history. Show that it avoids extension cords and trips breaker risk. HOAs respond to liability framing. Bring a clean spec sheet and proof of installer insurance. Everyone should run a bill audit. Check for estimated reads, then request a manual read if estimates cluster. Look for duplicate riders across base and fuel lines. If you find anomalies, file a written dispute and note the docket number in your letter. Utilities track complaint codes. Documented patterns can trigger staff reviews. In some states, you can request an informal mediation with the Commission's Consumer Office. Use it. Finally, stack these moves. Provider literacy gets you on the right rate and into credits. Load management lowers the peak that drives your costs and the system's risk. Local resilience turns outages from emergencies into inconveniences and gives you leverage to pick cheaper rate plans. None of this fixes the broken incentives, but it buys you time and money while you push for structural reforms we'll cover next. Renters and small business survival tactics. If you rent or run a small shop, you don't control the meter room, but you still have levers. Start with community solar. It works like this. You subscribe to a remote solar project, it feeds the grid, and you get bill credits that offset your usage. Savings typically run 5 to 10% with no hardware, and most programs don't require a credit check. Search Community Solar plus your state. Pick a provider with no termination fees and set a waitlist alert. If your building has a master meter, ask management to pass credits through to your ledger or to the common meter that sets your rent formula. Community batteries are emerging in a few regions. They sit on the block and provide localized backup and peak shaving. If a pilot exists near you, join as an early subscriber. The benefit isn't full backup, it's shorter outages and steadier voltage during events. That can be the difference between a spoiled fridge and a normal evening. Next, demand response through aggregators. You don't need a big device fleet. A single smart thermostat and a couple of smart plugs can qualify. Aggregators like Arcadia, OhmConnect, or utility-labeled partners pool thousands of small devices and pay you credits when the grid is stressed. Read the fine print, event length, override rules, and payout cadence. For small businesses, refrigerated cases, HVAC, and water heaters are eligible. Set control windows that avoid your rush hour and get paid to do what you do anyway. Stage loads and avoid peaks. Now the fast payback efficiency stack. For renters, swap bulbs to high-quality LEDs, warm color, high CRI. Focus on fixtures used 3+ hours daily. Add adhesive door seals on exterior doors and weather stripping on leaky windows. It's a $20 fix that cuts drafts. Use smart power strips for TV and gaming setups to kill idle draw. Put a $10 timer on window ACs or dehumidifiers to hard stop during peak hours. Use heavy curtains as a thermal buffer on west-facing windows. These are cheap, reversible, and lease-friendly. For small businesses, install strip curtains on walk-in coolers to reduce compressor cycles. Add self-closing hinges and door sweeps on exterior doors. Put occupancy sensors in back rooms and bathrooms. Stage equipment startup. Don't turn on ovens, HVAC, and dishwashers at the same minute. Replace failed fluorescent ballasts with LED retrofit kits. Target areas where lights run long hours. Ask your utility for a small business audit. Many offer instant rebates and direct install measures. Backup options, portable power stations versus generators. Portables are quiet, indoor safe, and perfect for fridges, lights, a modem, and medical devices. Size by watt hours. A 1 to 2 kilowatt-hour unit bridges short outages, charges off a wall outlet, and avoids fuel storage. Add a small folding solar panel if you have balcony or courtyard access. Generators deliver more runtime per dollar for long outages, but consider fuel, noise rules, storage, and maintenance. If your lease allows, a 2 to 3 kilowatts inverter generator with a carbon monoxide sensor, outdoor-only use, and a proper extension cord plan is acceptable. Test it quarterly. Old fuel is failure. Insurance matters. Photograph food inventory and appliance serial numbers now. Ask your renters or business policy about spoilage coverage and utility outage exclusions. Some policies cover refrigerated goods if a public utility failure lasts a set number of hours. Others require a deductible that dwarfs the claim. Document outage times from the utilities portal, keep receipts for ice and dry ice, and submit promptly. For businesses, Ask your POS provider for outage logs. They help substantiate losses. If you're a renter dealing with pass-throughs, negotiate. Ask management to cap utility admin fees to actual bill increases with documentation, not a flat markup. Offer to install at your expense. A smart thermostat or submeter that you remove at move-out. Propose a backup power addendum. You supply a certified portable power station. They waive any prohibition on battery devices under a certain capacity. For elevator buildings, ask for the building's outage communication protocol and push for a battery-backed lighting upgrade in stairwells, often a small capital that management can justify with safety and liability. Small businesses should ask their utility about demand charge alternatives. Some offer business saver rates with lower demand components if you can keep peaks below a threshold. Install a simple demand monitor that alerts you when you're nearing your peak so you can delay one load. If your refrigeration is mission critical, add a temperature logger and alarm that texts you during voltage dips or compressor failures. Catching a problem early beats filing a claim later. Finally, organize at the building or block level. A shared freezer in a ground floor shop powered by a portable station can save tenants' perishables during short outages. A simple WhatsApp group for your building coordinates ice runs, device charging rotations, and safety checks. Ask your local council about resilience hubs, libraries or community centers with backup power, and map their hours and access rules now, not during a storm. You don't control the capital stack. You do control enrollment, timing, and preparedness. Stack subscriptions and small devices to claw back cash, reduce risk, and buy breathing room while the bigger fight plays out. Investor lens, risks, traps, and ethical exposure. If you hold utilities, you need to separate regulated stalwarts from PE-engineered cash machines. Public utility stocks disclose rate-based growth, allowed returns, and reliability metrics with some consistency. PE-owned or partially privatized utilities have disclosure gaps. Affiliate fees, push-down debt, and service agreements can sit off to the side. Your risk isn't just earnings volatility, it's asymmetric information. If you can't map riders to capital plan execution, you're flying blind. Recent mega deals and minority stakes, Brookfield, Blackstone/GIP, KKR, Macquarie, amplify this risk because control can be exercised without majority ownership. Start with transparency tests. Pull the latest rate order and compare O&M trends versus capital additions. If O&M per customer is flat or down while rate base jumps, you're looking at capitalization creep. Next, scan for affiliate transactions and shared services allocations. If more than a sliver of total cost is paid to affiliates with vague scopes, assume leakage. Finally, look at performance metrics. If the at-risk revenue tied to reliability is tiny compared to the return on capital, the incentive is telling you where management focus will land. Bondholders face a different trap, refinancing cliffs and covenant math that leans on riders. Prospectuses sound safe, regulated monopoly, decoupling, trackers, but the actual cash coverage rests on regulatory goodwill. Map maturities against pending rate cases. If a stack of OpCo debt rolls within 12 to 24 months of a contentious filing, your spread isn't compensating you for timing risk. Watch for change of control provisions and OpCo guarantees supporting HoldCo notes. The more the HoldCo leans on the OpCo, the more your downside in a tough commission cycle. Preferreds and hybrids labeled equity can behave like debt with mandatory distributions. They're senior to you if you're in common equity and pari-ish to you if you're in bonds, because management prioritizes them in filings. Read whether distributions are cumulative and whether missed distributions trigger board seats or step-ups. If they're cumulative with steep step-ups, assume the utility will chase recovery mechanisms to avoid tripping them. Your dividend or your bond cushion funds that priority. Yield traps are everywhere. A 6 to 8% utility dividend can mask starved maintenance and ballooning rate base. Stress test payout ratios under a lower allowed return or delayed tracker approvals. If the dividend requires 5 to 7% annual rate base growth forever, you're buying a treadmill. Check service territory demographics. If demand is flat without data centers, the growth story is almost entirely regulatory. Green funds add another wrinkle. Many index and ESG-labeled funds hold utilities for their transition pipelines. Do a look-through. If the fund owns a utility with aggressive fixed charges throttling distributed energy, or a holdco with pipeline exposure feeding peakers, your green allocation may be underwriting the same extraction we just walked through. Ask for proxy voting records on rate design and affiliate transaction proposals. If the manager votes with management on structures that entrench fixed charges and affiliate fees, you're complicit. For active investors, here's a quick diligence checklist. Allowed ROE trend versus peers. Recent commission stance on trackers. O&M normalization adjustments. Any reclassification policies changed in the last 2 dockets. Affiliate spend as a percent of total. Existence of affiliate penalties. Vegetation and inspection cadence disclosures. Third-party audit references. Storm cost deferral balances. Carrying charge approvals and amortization schedules. Debt maturity ladder at OpCo and HoldCo. Covenant headroom under a 100 BPS ROE cut. Fixed charge proposals and their effect on low-usage customers. Demand response enrollment and payout quality. Ethically, decide where you draw the line. You can seek exposure to transmission with strong performance-based rate-making and ring-fenced financing, while avoiding vehicles that rely on push-down debt and fee extraction. You can use screened ETFs that exclude utilities failing reliability or transparency thresholds. If you own generalist funds, use your proxy to support ring fencing, no acquisition debt at OpCos, dividends capped by reliability scores, maintenance floors, board-level policy to keep vegetation and inspection cycles above a hard minimum. Disclosure, public asset condition scorecards and affiliate transaction detail. Microstory, an income fund chased a 7% yielder from a utility parent. The fine print, a new resilience rider and a dividend recap at the OpCo. 6 months later, the commission trimmed the rider scope and delayed recovery. The parent defended the dividend, cut capex late, and quietly stretched vegetation cycles. Outages rose. The next case got uglier. Yield wasn't free. It was prepaid by customers and then by investors who didn't read the docket. If you want to invest without feeding the problem, prioritize. Utilities under performance-based rate-making with meaningful at-risk revenue. Municipal or co-op bonds with dedicated revenue pledges and transparent maintenance reports. Transmission developers with independent audits and low affiliate exposure. Managers with a track record of voting for customer-aligned rate design and against opaque affiliate deals. Final thought, return quality matters more than return size. If your coupon depends on riders that outpace reality, you're underwriting political risk disguised as math. Pick the structures that earn by keeping the lights on, not by turning your bill into a collateral stream. Local power, how communities push back. We've talked about what you can do at home. Now let's scale it. Neighborhood, city, state. Communities have real leverage if they focus it where it counts, on the docket, the franchise, and the law. Viral move. Pair personal outage logs with a public map. Commissions respond to specifics. Start with intervener groups. Every rate case has a table where lawyers and experts speak for customers. You can join them or fund them. Look up your state's Consumer Advocate Office, local AARP chapter, low-income advocates, small business alliances, and environmental justice groups. Ask if they're intervening in your utility's active dockets. Offer 2 things: story evidence, outage logs, medical risk, small business losses, and small donations to hire expert testimony. A $5,000 pooled fund can pay for a vegetation audit or an accountant to dissect affiliate fees. The testimony you help fund lives on the record and can change orders. If you have time, apply to be a public intervener. You don't need to be a lawyer. You need to submit comments on time, respond to procedural emails, and show up to hearings. Bring specifics, feeder names, substation bottlenecks, restoration gaps, and billing anomalies with dates. Commissions weigh detailed, localized facts more than broad complaints. And ask for conditions, not just deny the increase. Conditions move money: maintenance floors, affiliate discounts, performance penalties. Now, municipalization. Not every city should take over its utility, but running a feasibility study isn't a fantasy. The early steps are standard. Pass a resolution to fund a study, hire an independent utility finance consultant, and request system data, asset age, O&M, capital backlog, and local reliability. The output isn't just a takeover path, it's leverage. If the study shows a realistic bond pathway and a transitional operations plan, your city has negotiating power. Many places never pull the trigger, but they get franchise terms and reliability commitments they couldn't get otherwise. Franchise negotiations are your near-term lever. Cities grant utilities the right to use streets and rights of way. Those agreements come up every 10 to 20 years. When they do, tie renewal to measurable performance. SAIDI/SCI caps by district, vegetation cycle lengths by corridor, time-bound streetlight repair SLAs, and outage communication standards. Add automatic liquidated damages. Miss the metric, pay into a local resilience fund. Require an independent audit of vegetation and spare inventories every 2 years with public results. Make it boring, quantifiable, and self-enforcing. At the state level, focus on reforms that fix incentives, not headlines. Decoupling can help, but only if paired with performance-based rate-making, PBR. That puts real revenue at risk for reliability, customer service, interconnection timelines, and cost control. Push for ring-fencing rules. Ban acquisition debt at operating utilities. Cap dividends when reliability lags. Require board-level risk committees focused on maintenance. Support statutes that force utilities to disclose affiliate transactions with price benchmarks and impose automatic discounts unless proven arm's length. Data transparency turns anecdotes into policy. Demand public dashboards with feeder-level outage minutes, vegetation cycle adherence, and substation asset age. Require utilities to publish spare transformer counts and lead times by region. Push for vegetation work maps like snowplow trackers. Residents can see when their corridor is due and flag misses. Pair that with whistleblower channels that protect line workers who report unsafe deferrals. Sunlight tightens maintenance without another press release. Wildfire, flood, and storm plans should include hard maintenance commitments, not just drones and LiDAR. Ask your commission to require minimum on-the-ground trimming miles per year, clearance standards by species and voltage class, and an emergency contractor surge plan with pre-awarded rates. Technology is fine. Metrics must land on branches trimmed and devices maintained. Community Choice Aggregation, CCA, is another tool where allowed. CCAs let cities buy the energy while the utility still owns the wires. If your region permits it, organize a campaign for a CCA with a reliability-first RFP. Demand providers commit to peak reduction, local storage pilots, and funding a resilience hub network. CCAs can negotiate better programs and give you leverage on rate design, especially around fixed charges that punish low-usage customers. Microstory, a mid-sized city, faced a 12% rate hike in chronic feeder outages on the east side. The council funded a feasibility study for municipalization and opened franchise talks. Citizen interveners filed outage logs by feeder, and a retired engineer mapped substation bottlenecks. The result, a franchise renewal with SAIDI caps by district, a mandatory 3-year vegetation cycle with public maps, a penalty escrow for misses, and a commitment to stock 50 additional 25 to 50 kVA transformers locally. The rate hike landed smaller, and restoration times improved the first winter. Build local resilience hubs. A library with batteries and HVAC during peak alerts is more than comfort. It cuts emergency room visits and gives device charging to people on medical equipment. Utilities often fund non-wires alternatives. Make hubs eligible. Tie funding to performance penalties, so misses finance community assets. Finally, coordinate your asks. At the city, franchise terms and resilience hubs. At the commission, PBR with teeth, ring fencing, affiliate transparency, maintenance floors, and public dashboards. In the legislature, authority for CCAs, funding for intervener participation, and audit mandates. And keep receipts, photos, outage logs, bill scans. Facts move dockets. Communities aren't powerless. They're just usually uncoordinated. Pick 2 levers this quarter, a franchise clause and a transparency bill, and push together. That's how local power starts to balance Wall Street power. The future if we stay on this path. If nothing changes, fragility compounds. Deferred maintenance doesn't stay flat, it snowballs. Every skipped trim cycle produces thicker limbs. Every transformer kept one more season ages insulation faster under stress. Outage minutes rise non-linearly, and restoration times stretch because the same shortages that justified deferral also slow repair. In 5 years, storms of yesterday's intensity cause tomorrow's multi-day outages, and the baseline expectation shifts from "we'll be back tonight" to "maybe by the weekend." Meanwhile, fixed charges creep up to stabilize cash flow even as service quality slips. Rate shock follows a rhythm you can set a calendar by. Capital trackers escalate as milestones complete. Storm deferrals add carrying charges, insurance deductibles jump after each event, and cost of capital stays sticky. You don't get a cliff, you get stair steps, 3%, then 5%, then a true-up for another 2%, until the new normal is 20 to 30% higher than 3 years prior. For middle-income households, that erases savings capacity. For low-income customers, arrears grow, shutoffs rise, and health trade-offs worsen. Energy poverty isn't an edge case. It becomes the median story for stressed regions. Insurance pulls back in a slow retreat. As claims mount, underwriters tighten terms on substation flooding, wildfire corridors, and coastal surge zones. Deductibles rise, exclusions expand, and self-insured retentions shift risk to utilities that shift it to you. After a few cycles, certain assets are effectively uninsurable at reasonable cost. Those assets don't get replaced promptly. They get used until failure and then repriced to ratepayers under extraordinary events. That's how stranded assets become community liabilities with interest tacked on. Consolidation accelerates. Distressed operators sell to bigger funds with a tougher playbook. The pitch is always the same. We bring expertise, scale, and access to capital. The reality is tighter extraction timelines, more shared service fees, and deeper push-down debt. Each cycle removes local accountability and adds legal distance between the decision-makers and the people in the dark. When commissions bulk, owners threaten credit downgrades and investment pauses. Policymakers trade short-term reliability headlines for long-term cost commitments. The flywheel spins faster. Social trust erodes. People don't blame macro weather models. They blame whoever sends the bill and whoever answers the phone. Disconnection between payment and service shows up as protest, non-payment spikes, and political backlash that swings between extremes. Rate freezes that starve maintenance further, or blank check modernization packages that reward the same behavior. Line workers, who didn't cause the incentives, bear the brunt of public frustration, and attrition increases. The workforce gap widens at the exact moment the system needs experience. The energy transition, meanwhile, becomes a scapegoat and a shield. When outages hit, some blame renewables. When hikes hit, others point to mandates. The owners sit in the middle and use both narratives to justify more capital trackers while preserving the maintenance squeeze. Storage gets built without life cycle reserves. Interconnection delays become permanent leverage. Fixed charges expand to protect cash flow from customer efficiency. We end up with more megawatts on paper and fewer reliable hours in practice. Local economies absorb second-order damage. Businesses shorten hours to avoid peak demand charges, then lose customers. Refrigeration upgrades get deferred. Spoilage claims rise. Insurers push back. New employers look at feeder reliability maps and pick elsewhere. Housing affordability worsens when landlords bake rising common meter costs into rent. Municipal budgets strain as streetlight outages and traffic signal failures require emergency work orders at premium rates. City finance directors start issuing outage bonds to patch infrastructure the utility didn't maintain, effectively taxing residents twice. Security risks creep in. Longer restoration windows mean more intersections without signals, more dark stairwells, more opportunity for petty crime. Critical facilities burn scarce diesel during multi-day events. If fuel logistics falter, hospitals and water plants enter conservation modes. Communications networks, small cells and cable node power, drop as backup batteries expire. A routine storm becomes a civic stress test, and every test reveals thinner margins. Politically, the backlash won't aim precisely. Some states will overcorrect with punitive utility rules that freeze capital and worsen service. Others will hand utilities performance bonuses on metrics they can game. Without structural fixes, ring fencing, maintenance floors, performance-based rate-making with real at-risk revenue, and affiliate transparency, policy oscillates and customers pay either way. Here's the bleak but honest. Endpoint, a two-tier grid. Affluent customers self-provide solar, batteries, generators, concierge maintenance, while everyone else rides a frayed network with rising fixed charges that make escaping harder. The public system becomes the insurer of last resort for those least able to pay, financed by riders that never sunset. That's not resilience, that's abandonment disguised as modernization. It doesn't have to land there. But if we keep rewarding CAPEX headlines over uptime, privatize gains and socialize outages, and let paperwork outrun pruning and spares, that's the path. The fix isn't a slogan. It's incentives that pay for boring excellence and penalize glossy neglect. The longer we wait, the more expensive back to baseline becomes. A better model, reliability first, profit second. Okay, so what would a sane system pay for? Not buzzwords, uptime. We tie money to minutes saved, not steel installed. Here's the model, piece by piece, so you can recognize it and push for it where you live. If your commission is considering PBR, copy this list into the docket. First, tie profit to reliability metrics that can't be gamed. Not just broad SAIDI/sci-fi at the system level, feeder-level metrics with weather-normalized baselines and narrow exclusion lists. Make 3 to 5% of revenue genuinely at risk each year based on outage minutes on the worst 10% feeders, restoration time after first dispatch, and accuracy of outage communications. Put penalties on both misses and gaming. If events are reclassified to avoid penalties, the penalty doubles. Now management has real money on the line for branches trimmed and switches that actually operate. Second, ring-fenced financing. Ban acquisition debt at the operating utility. Require a standalone credit structure with an independent board committee that certifies 2 things annually. No push-down debt from the parent, and dividends limited by a reliability scorecard. If substation age, vegetation cycles, and spare inventories slip below thresholds, dividend payout ratios step down automatically until scores recover. This isn't anti-investor. It's pro-customer cash discipline that keeps maintenance from becoming the funding source of last resort. Third, maintenance floors you can audit. Codify vegetation cycles by corridor type, urban, suburban, rural, with miles per year targets and clearance standards by voltage. Set minimum inspection cadences for poles, reclusers, relays, and breakers. Establish spare transformer ratios by KVA class and region with on-hand inventory, not purchase orders. Miss the floor. Automatic liquidated damages flow into a community resilience fund that pays for batteries at shelters, cooling centers, and traffic signal backup. Compliance reports go public quarterly, not buried in an appendix. Fourth, independent asset audits and public scorecards. Every 2 years, a third-party engineering firm assesses the top 20 substations, the bottom 10% feeders, and the vegetation backlog. Publish a heat map with asset age, condition scores, known bottlenecks, and planned fixes with dates. Pair that with a spend-to-outcome table. Dollars to trimming, dollars to spares, dollars to automation, and the outage minutes reduced per dollar. When money meets outcomes in daylight, Capex Theater loses its shine. Fifth, rate design that rewards useful behavior. Give time-of-use rates with honest spreads that reflect system stress, and pair them with demand response payments that clear like a market, not a raffle. Cap fixed charges so low usage and efficiency investments still pay back. Credit customers who enroll devices that the utility can dispatch during peaks, thermostats, water heaters, EVs, with monthly cash, not one-time trinkets. If the grid needs flexibility, pay for it transparently. Sixth, fair interconnection and distributed energy rules. Set statutory timelines. If the utility misses an interconnection deadline without a valid safety issue, per day credits accrue to the project and to a customer benefit fund. Standardize upgrade cost sharing based on clear thresholds, not case-by-case negotiation. Publish hosting capacity maps that update quarterly so developers and neighborhoods know where the grid can accept new solar and storage. Don't throttle distributed energy with punitive minimum bills. Price exports fairly and let customer-side resources lower peak stress. Seventh, stop the accounting shell game. Lock capitalization policies. Routine vegetation, inspections, and basic corrective work stay O&M. If a utility proposes reclassification, require a separate docket with prospective-only approval and a backcast showing how prior years would have changed. Give consumer advocates funding to hire accountants who can spot the tricks. If O&M drops but outage minutes don't, the next filing triggers a maintenance surcharge credit back to customers, not another rider-up. Eighth, affiliate transaction guardrails. All affiliate services get a default 10% disallowance, unless proven cheaper than arm's-length bids. If the parent owns a pipeline or a construction arm, any contract above a threshold must be bid with at least 2 independent comparables, and the benchmarking analysis goes public. Violations trigger clawbacks credited to ratepayers. Keep the family deals honest or keep them out. Ninth, storm finance that doesn't become a forever tax. Set storm cost deferral caps per event and a maximum amortization window, say 3 to 5 years, and ban carrying charges above the utility's actual weighted average debt cost. Tie recovery to demonstrated improvements in the circuits that failed. If you're paying for yesterday's storm, tomorrow's trim cycle has to happen on those same feeders before recovery accelerates. 10th, performance-based rate-making with teeth. Start base revenue neutral, then layer in symmetrical incentives. Rewards for meeting interconnection timelines, cutting worst feeder minutes, and shrinking vegetation backlogs. Penalties for missing them. Keep the target band tight, no participation trophies. Add a stretch target that earns a bonus only if low-income arrears drop and shutoffs fall without bill padding. Reliability isn't success if people can't afford the service. Microstory. A Gulf Coast utility adopted this model after a brutal hurricane season. Ring fencing blocked a dividend recap. Maintenance floors forced a 3-year vegetation catch-up, and feeder-level penalties put money at risk. Year 1. Automation spend paused until spares and trimming were on plan. Year 2. Outage minutes on the worst feeders fell 28%, restoration got faster, and the utility still earned a bonus by hitting interconnection timelines. Customers noticed fewer dark nights, not just new press releases. Finally, customer equity. Create shared savings programs for non-wires alternatives. If a neighborhood battery or targeted efficiency avoids a substation upgrade, split the savings. One slice lowers local riders, one funds a resilience hub, one pays the developer, and yes, one rewards the utility for choosing the cheaper fix. Add community ownership slices to storage pilots so residents collect a modest dividend from assets that stabilize their block. When customers benefit directly, trust rebounds. That's the better model. Profit follows uptime, maintenance is non-negotiable, and disclosures force honesty. It's not flashy. It works. Rapid action checklist. Grab your bill now. Circle riders, trackers, adjustments, fuel, true UPS. Call and enroll in the cheapest rate plan, time of use, and any demand response that pays cash. Set thermostat schedules around peak, shift laundry/dishwasher off-peak, and put EV charging after midnight. Price a community solar subscription. Join a waitlist. Add LEDs, door seals, smart strips, and a timer on water heaters or dehumidifiers. Save links to your utility's active dockets. Set email alerts. Photograph your panel, meter number, and outage timestamps for future claims. Build a 24-hour backup. Portable power station, extension cords, charged battery bank, headlamps, and an ICE plan. Share this checklist with a neighbor. Mutual prep wins. Your bill shouldn't fund Wall Street fees while reliability slips and outages stretch longer. If this gave you leverage, subscribe so you don't miss the follow-up tools and templates. Next, watch the deep dive on water bills. Same playbook, different pipes. Drop your zip in the comments for a risk map and share this with someone staring at a higher bill.